All right, so let's talk about Lightning Storm. This is the third build that I've tested today after all of the patch notes to see how it's functioning. I saved it for last because I believed it was going to be the easiest, have the fewest changes. Turns out it's actually got the most changes to the build guide because I'm thinking about changing one thing on it, but that's it. All three builds that I've tested today have performed very similar to what they were before. Lightning Storm is no different. Lightning Storm feels almost identical. The only difference, I'm doing the same Nightmare Dungeons I was doing before the patch, same ones after. The only difference is because we don't have quite as much cooldown reduction anymore, there are periods of time where trying to play just the Umbral version, taking advantage of Umbral to get all of our spirit gen, or that and the crit combined, isn't quite enough anymore. It was pretty much always enough before, so I'm thinking about taking Ravens back out and putting back in a generator even at the top end, just for when you need it. Even that you can play without it, you just wait a few seconds, but I think just for the smoothness of it, I'm going to go back to that. Outside of that, this build is basically just about the same. The healing is still good on it. It's, you know, a little bit less often, but it's plenty often enough because we don't stand close to things anyway, so it's not that big a deal. Of course, we have less Grizzly Rage uptime, but it's still up a lot of the time. And because of the way the build's been designed, it can still function when it's not in Grizzly Rage, and that's awesome. Like the last two builds we've tested today, the change with Unstoppable is not as big of a deal as it would seem because of all the adjustments that Blizzard has made to CC not being nearly as important, and in this build even more so because we don't need to stand next to things to kill things, so we can just walk away and hit them with Lightning Storm and they're still going to die. So if you're a Lightning Storm enjoyer, if you're worried about whether or not this build is going to function in season 1, it's going to be great still. It's going to have all the same features it had in preseason. It's going to have the same effective level of performance. This build might actually even potentially go up a little bit in relation to other builds as far as a Nightmare Dungeon pusher because of its extreme range. It can attack literally from an entire screen away and still be very functional like that. Most builds can't do that. That might help it to go up in Nightmare Dungeons now that damage reduction has been nerfed across the board versus other builds, since it can avoid getting hit more often. So this build is definitely in line for the potential to go up a tier Nightmare Dungeon pushing, and I believe it'll stay pretty much where it is everywhere else. It's still going to be an S tier speed farmer. It's still going to be a really great build. So if you are hoping to at some point play Lightning Storm Druid during the season, you're still good to go. Go ahead and farm that Tempest Roar and enjoy. All right, that's all I got to say on Lightning Storm.